So Brandon, take it away.
Take it away, Brandon. You can start the meeting.
Okay, let's call the meeting. Can the roll call be called?
All right. Let's see. Commissioners Espy and Commissioner LaSalle are excused. Chair Dole.
Here.
Commissioner Stoll.
Here.
Commissioner Laws.
Here.
Commissioner Meinig.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great.
So we rearranged everything, right?
Yes.
I was busy looking at all this stuff. I'm sorry.
So Chair Doyle, there was a request to rearrange the agenda to bring forward item 6A as we have a quorum to open up the public hearing and have a motion on that public hearing before we move forward with the rest of the agenda. Is that an acceptable request?
That's fine. That's 5A? GLUA
Agenda item
2527.
6A,
6A.
the public hearing item for Clackamas Community College.
Yes, okay, yeah. And the agenda it shows 5A, but yes, I'm with you.
Sorry, yes,
Yep, you're good.
okay.
All right. Do we have a motion to continue? Or what do we do? Sorry. I don't have my agenda up anymore. I don't know.
So the procedure would be for us to open the public hearing process and then have a motion for a planning commission request to continue the hearing to a date certain of January 26th, as the item is not ready to be considered before the planning commission. And so we would.
And I can tell you why that is. The engineering staff are still reviewing the project for their public works connections, findings, adequacy of public utilities. It should be pretty straightforward, and the planner who's reviewing this, Jude Tadeus, informed me that by the 26th, they will definitely have all those findings from Public Works ready to make a recommendation. So it is a public hearing. We could read the script at the next hearing, and I would recommend that we do, rather than try to get through that tonight.
That's perfectly acceptable.
Because it'll be, yeah, so if we agree, if the Planning Commission agrees to read the quasi-judicial preamble at the next hearing, that should be adequate.
I have no concern with that.
Okay. In that case, the commission can move and vote on the continuance.
Anyone there like to make a motion?
I move for a continuance on GLUA 25-00047 and MAS 25-00006 to a date certain of January 26th, 2026.
I second.
Great.
Great.
Let's do the vote.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Laws?
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll?
Aye.
Commissioner Dole?
Aye.
Commissioner Meinig?
Aye.
Motion carries. Hearings continued to the 26th.
Thank you all.
All right.
Great. Do we want to move to presentation?
If you would like to move out of order, again, in deference of our presenter who has been so patiently waiting for us, that is acceptable.
Let's do it.
Okay,
Oh, no objections. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me here. I'm Marcos Kubo, the Water Quality Coordinator for City of Oregon City. And this is what we've learned from the Cove in regards to harmful algal blooms. Next slide, please. So what have we learned about the Clackamette Cove? We've learned what hydrodynamics affect water levels in the cove. We know the phosphorus is a limiting factor for harmful algal blooms, and we'll discuss what we're doing with this information moving forward. Next slide.
Am I right here? Am I on the right slide?
Yes, we are now on the right side.
Okay.
All right. So there's a lot going on this slide. Don't worry too much. We just want to know the takeaway is there are multiple sites where we collected multiple different measurements, but we'll primarily focus on A and C. A is the deepest part of the cove, and C is the entrance from the Clackamas River. Next slide, please. This is a hydrograph that represents what the cove experiences in elevation changes for the water. And we can see, based on that little green bit that goes above the orange, it's kind of hard to see, but essentially what this graph tells us is that we see tidal influences from the Willamette and the Clackamas. But once we reach a certain period in the summer, starting around June, there's no influence to the cove. It's essentially cut off and acts like a lake. Next slide, please. And the gravel bar is ultimately what dictates this water level in the cove. Most of the water in the Clackamas moves on that northern channel there. You see the arrow, and then the channel on in northeast, the first circle on the top right, that is where it receives water from the Clackamas. But once it gets down below about 12 feet, we don't see any more influence, and more so the circle on the bottom left corner is the one that essentially determines how high the water level is going to be. It prevents any kind of influence from the Willamette. Next slide, please. So these graphs are Sunday profiles that help us understand water column characteristics that impact the growth of algae. And 2024 is the dashed line and 25 is the solid. The biggest difference we see is that green line you see on the top and bottom, and it's closer to the surface in 25 than it was in 24. The green line shows us where most of the algae are and why. For example, the temperature, which is the red line, and the oxygen level in the blue line dramatically change at the same depth. The green line spikes, which indicates where the greatest concentration of algae are. But this doesn't exactly mean that it's harmful algae, it's just a measurement of chlorophyll. But we do also see a spike in harmful algae, which are also called cyanobacteria. Next slide, please. So we've determined that the algae's greatest source of phosphorus, which is its limiting factor, is leaching from the sediments when oxygen levels drop in the summer, which we saw on the previous slide. The green and brown segments of the bars represent the fraction of phosphorus that easily leach into low oxygen environments. Most importantly, the available phosphorus, all of the available phosphorus is right at the sediment surface. If you look at the top two lines on each graph, those are the top 2 centimeters of sediment. So you see the brown and green take over the majority of the bar. Next slide, please. So phosphorus near the cove bottom remains low until the cove becomes isolated in July, when stratification leads to internal phosphorus release. Excuse me. So one thing to note is at the surface, we have a different scale of the concentrations than on the bottom graph. So they may look similar to the naked eye, but if you observe the x-axis, we see that the concentrations are different. So in reality, the surface is very low, rarely going above 0.03. When we look at the bottom, during the summer, it goes all the way up to 1.4. And the blue is 2025, and the orange is 2024. So we did see more phosphorus release this year, and we also saw a greater volume of chlorophyll in the water. Next slide, please. Temperature influences the release of phosphorus by stratifying the cove, with hot water on top and cooler water stabilizing at depth, approximately 6 meters. The lack of mixing prevents the two layers from moving oxygen into the water from the top to the bottom, causing a chemical reaction that releases phosphorus from the sediment surface. This is where the algae get their nutrients, and then they move up to where they can convert sunlight to food, which is what we saw in the previous slide, where the green line was showing at about 3 meters. Next slide, please. We can also see it there at the bottom with the red circle. You see how the dashed line is not as peaked and slightly lower in depth. And the solid line is the 2025, where we see the jump. Cyanobacteria, aka harmful algae, have the greatest population of all species during the summer months, which we see in the top graph, most prevalent in 2025. The dark green segment of the bar symbolizes those cyanobacteria. This is still well below potential contact to pets and humans, but we know it's present every year. Next slide, please. While temperature stratification is a key driver for phosphorus release in the summer, which feeds the algae, aquatic vegetation can further limit the mixing of the two layers by trapping heat in its canopy. We see multiple different species of invasive aquatic plants in there, such as the Eurasian milfoil, which is that long stringy stuff that swimmers always get trapped in. So it might be good to remove that, and it could also improve the water quality. Next slide, please. Removal of these prevalent invasive aquatic plants will not only improve circulation and water quality, it also improves aesthetics and recreation opportunities. Next slide, please. So this is a busy slide here, but I'll try to make it more concise. The cove is cut off from the river in the summer. Hydrodynamics are governed by the river and the gravel bar, but mostly the gravel bar. The cove mixes poorly in the summer, and all aquatic vegetation plays a role in mixing. Now we need a model to tell us how much inflow is needed to sustain mixing, which is what the consultants are doing for us now. We have successfully calibrated the model this month, and we will be receiving results in the near future. Next slide, please. So summer thermal stratification creates low oxygen conditions near the bottom, triggering internal phosphorus release from sediment. Reactive sediment phosphorus provides a reoccurring nutrient source, supporting the cyanobacteria growth during warm and stagnant periods, which is why we want that mixing to happen. Aquatic vegetation traps the heat and intensifies the stratification. Phosphorus buildup and cyanobacteria response can vary year to year, indicating sensitivity to hydraulic and climatic conditions. Cyanobacteria dominance by Anabaena planktonica reflects the adaptation to low mixing. This species can move vertically to access the light and nutrients. So that's why you see them at the 3 meter mark. They're going down to the bottom where the phosphorus is rich, and then they're ballasting back up to that 3 meter mark where they get enough sunlight to produce food. Overall, summer conditions reinforce a feedback loop between stratification and internal loading and algal response. Next slide, please. So the way we see it, there's 2 ways to manage the cove. We can continue to treat it as a lake in the summer and work on things like invasive plant removal and things like that, or we can enhance the exchange and treat it like an addition to the river, which would require substantial permits and work to be done in the river. So we are utilizing the model to look at 6 different scenarios as to how much inflow will be necessary and whether it's feasible to do so with the tools we have. And that's all I got.
That was
Thanks
great.
a lot,
Thank you.
Marcos. Does the
Thank you
commission
for
have
having
any
me.
questions?
None on my end. They're in the chambers. Greg, Carla, Victoria online.
No, I'm curious to see what happens or what the final outcome is.
You
I have
and
a
me
question.
both.
The gravel bar at the entrance to the cove has been seemingly getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year because of the deposits from the channel. Is that a correct assessment?
We haven't been monitoring it from year to year, but we do have a 20-year look back from 2024 to, I believe it's 2005. So we have noticed a substantial aggregation of rocks, and even this past storm, we had the big one. There was a lot of rocks that were deposited and shifted. One of our consultants' data loggers ended up getting pretty messed up and shipped off downstream.
Oh.
So it was a big storm, and that is one thing I can say with confidence about streams in general, is that it will never stay the same. So any kind of dredging is a temporary solution, but that may be all we have for the cove is temporary solutions, because harmful algal blooms are a bigger scale problem than just the cove.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Long-term, what would be more of a sustainable solution in terms of cost? Treating it like a lake or making it to where it contributes to the Clackamas River?
This is all based on preliminary data, but in my personal opinion, I would say starting with the low-hanging fruit, like removing the invasive species and potentially like looking at that for a summer or two, seeing if it affects a die-off of or not, and then if not, potentially treating the water with an algicide. It's not it's not ideal to use a pesticide, but when it comes to harmful algae, there's not a whole lot you can do to remove it. You could try filtering it, but there's also options of bubblers, aerators that can help that mixing issue that we see at the bottom. So there are a number of mechanical options that we can try before we use any kind of pesticide.
Thank
Do
you.
do we see recreation in the lake during the summer? Is there a lot of use?
I've seen a few swimmers out there. I know sometimes people will use it as a launching pad for paddleboarding. I see on occasion fishermen, or what is the correct term, angler. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of swimming, and my guess would be because of all of the Eurasian milfoil, it just kind of floats up at the surface, and it just makes the whole cove kind of unpleasant looking, in my opinion. And from my experience in swimming in open water, it's never pleasant to swim through. It kind of feels like you're swimming through a pile of daddy long legs, all the stringy little fibers touching you. So I would start with removing of invasive species and see where that gets us. Maybe it'll increase recreation and potentially cause more of a public interest in the solution.
Okay. And then I think, if I understood correct, or at least what I would presume from your presentation, over time we would anticipate an increase in the algae bloom. So its quantity in the lake would continue to grow. Is that a correct assumption?
Well, they're an annual species, so they don't really survive the winter. I mean, there are trace amounts that will exist at all times of year, but there's definitely a die-off that occurs in the winter, and you see a change in the speciation of the algae in the water. So it usually shifts over to diatoms, which is a totally natural species and doesn't really harm you. It's actually where we get diatomaceous earth from, if you've ever used that. But it really depends on the seasonality. Like, for example, 2025 was a much hotter, drier year than 2024, which is my belief why we saw an increase in the algal blooms. And so I would need to see at least 3 years to know if it was a trend or not based on other environmental conditions. But yeah, it's easy to think that it's potentially trending upwards because we are seeing from the first to the second year an increase. But I would say it's more dependent on the temperature and the precipitation, because once that water level drops below 12 feet, I believe it is, from its winter level, it's cut off from the stream, and then if it's hot enough, you keep getting evaporation, and the more intense the heat, the more intense the stratification, and the more phosphorus that's released from the sediment.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Carla, I felt like I might have heard you. I want to make sure I didn't cut you off.
No, that's okay. So the active maintenance of it all, like to get it under control, right? Would it be like it would take someone some time, active involvement and maintenance, like, it'd be like someone maintaining a gigantic pool or pond, right?
Right.
What would that look like in terms of cost of investment, in terms of maintaining it? Like, what would it look like in a 5-year plan?
That's a great question. I discussed this a little bit with the consultants, and they mentioned that the removal of the invasive species could be pretty well permanent as long as it's not reintroduced, which is a possibility. But it would at very least have a 3 to 5 year period that was clear of these invasive species, and whether or not that prevents the growth of harmful algal blooms is another question. We, like you've seen in the past 2 years, we do have them existing in the water and somewhat prevalent at certain depths, but they're still not coming up to the surface where they get stressed and release toxins, which is when they become harmful to us. So they're currently coexisting without releasing much of any toxins. So at the moment, it's a bit of a sleeping dog. So the sooner we start taking chances and seeing, excuse me, seeing what we can throw at it, then still getting over cold. So yeah, things like the bubbler and removal of the invasive species should make a difference. Thanks. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it sounds like the way to manage it would be more like a lake rather than adding the river in terms of cost, and seeing long-term how to maintain it and then tackle the invasives initially. So thank you.
Absolutely, that would be my vote.
Okay, great. Does that, Pete, does that conclude the presentation?
Yes, it does. This is all part of our reporting requirements for our, is this part of our reporting requirements, or is this a separate?
The MS4 permit.
For our pollutant discharge permit that the city holds. So it's also very important data for the redevelopment potential for the Clackamette Cove.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. There you are. Sorry, I had one screen. We do have a quorum, so we can potentially tackle the legislative file. I would recommend perhaps, Brandon, if you are willing to let one of the other commissioners read the preamble, because you don't have a copy in front of you.
And I definitely do not have it memorized, Pete. So I think Commissioner Stoll's there to take the reign for us. So I give him full privilege.
If I may as well, just to fully interrupt, I apologize.
You're good. You're good.
We do have the other order of the agenda for the election of officers.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to go back to the order of the agenda and do that first, or if we want to do the public hearing, I will leave it up to you, Chair, how you want to fill out the rest of this lovely mess of an agenda we have tonight.
Well, I was going to ask, would it be appropriate? I know Commissioner Mining's hanging on here. Want to make sure she's doing okay. to stay with us. Would it be appropriate to do the election when we've got all commissioners? When Chair Espy and Bob would be with us? Or is it appropriate to go ahead and move forward with an election?
So it
Vote.
is as part of the bylaws that we do have it on the agenda to have it on the first meeting, but it is absolutely appropriate for you all to make a motion to postpone it to the next meeting. So that is at your discretion.
Would anybody, go ahead, Mr.
I'd
Stoll.
like to move to postpone the election of officers to the meeting of January 26th.
I second.
Let's call the vote.
Commissioner Espy? Oh, sorry, Commissioner Dole?
Aye.
Commissioner Stoll?
Aye.
Commissioner Meinig?
Aye.
Commissioner Laws?
Aye.
Okay, we'll tackle the election of officers on the 26th. Thank you.
Perfect.
Commissioner Meinig, are you still okay to stay with us, or how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. You're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well then let's go into the second public hearing, correct?
Correct. Ooh, that's really loud.
So I'll hand the reins to Commissioner Stoll if you're still willing. I appreciate you being there and taking the lead.
No problem. We'll start the legislative hearing script. A public hearing on a legislative application is scheduled for tonight. Our role is to conduct the public hearing and to make decisions about the matter before us. In making those decisions, we must apply the applicable codes and laws and cannot vary from or change those laws or codes. Excuse me. Legislative actions involve the adoption or amendment of the city's land use regulations, comprehensive plan, maps, inventories, and other public policy documents that affect the entire city or large portions of it. Legislative actions which affect land use shall begin with a public hearing before the Planning Commission. A staff report has been prepared for each application and has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each applicant's proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. Upon a recommendation from the Planning Commission on a legislative action, the City Commission shall hold at least one public hearing on the proposal. Any interested person may provide written or oral testimony on the proposal at or prior to the hearing. At the conclusion of the hearing, the city may adopt, modify, or reject a legislative proposal, or it may remand the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration. If the decision is to adopt at least some form of the proposal and thereby amend the city's land use regulations, comprehensive plan, official zoning maps, or some component of any of these documents, the City Commission decision shall be enacted as an ordinance. Public testimony will be called on in the order it was requested. If you wish to testify in person, please fill out a speaker card available at the back of the room. If you wish to testify virtually, you will be called either from a request to speak emailed to city staff at planning@orcity.org in advance of this meeting, or by raising your virtual or physical hand when I ask if there are others in the audience who would like to participate. For the public record, please begin all testimonies stating your name and city of residence. If you would like to receive a copy of the notice of decision, please state your mailing address or email address. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they apply to the application under consideration. Any person may submit written material while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by the city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, reports, pictures, or other exhibits used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony, or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence, must make that request before the public testimony portion of the initial hearing is closed. That's it.
Well done, that was fast. Thank you. Great. So Pete Walter, Planning Manager, tonight, we were going to have Josh Wheeler talk about this, but it's a very straightforward amendment. I can speak to it. We have a chapter of our development code, chapter 16.12, which is our public improvements and requirements chapter. And it covers everything from the requirement for adequate sewer, adequate water, adequate roads, adequate public services, and everything. And as you know, the legislature has passed a lot of new rules intended to incentivize housing production throughout the state. And as part of House Bill 2658, there is a requirement that municipalities may not require public street frontage improvements, which includes sidewalks, curb, gutter, pavement, those sorts of things for smaller projects, building permits that are under $150,000. We also may not require public improvements, street frontage improvements for accessory dwelling units. And any project where the building square footage is not increasing are specifically exempt now under state law, and we have to adopt those locally into our code. It's not a choice, it's a must. So in your packet, there is a one-page with the red line code in it with those items that I just mentioned. We've discussed this with Public Works and have not received any public comment in response to this legislative proposal as yet. Staff is recommending approval, and we would be asking the Planning Commission to recommend approval to the City Commission of these amendments. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
No question on my end. In the room, Commissioner Laws, Commissioner Stoll, or Commissioner Meinig online? Questions, comments?
Nothing for me.
No, doesn't look like it.
Great.
In the staff report and recommendation, we have included findings for compliance and consistency with the applicable goals, policies, and strategies of the city's comprehensive plan that pertain to these. And so that's part of the staff report. Other than that, we do not have anything further to recommend with respect to these other than for adoption. Thanks.
And I'm assuming no one's there to make comment in the chambers?
No, there is no one.
Okay. Commissioner Stoll, you want to close the hearing so we could vote, I believe? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep, hearing's closed.
Great. Entertain a motion?
I move to forward to the City Commission for approval, legislative file LAG 2503 and GLUA 25-054. Oh.
It's not working. I second.
Great.
Moved by Commissioner Stoll, second by Commissioner Laws.
Well, let's call the vote.
Commissioner Stoll,
Aye.
Commissioner Dole,
Aye.
Commissioner Laws,
Aye.
Commissioner Meinig.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Great. Thanks, Pete.
Don't have a date yet for City Commission. We do have to prepare an ordinance, and then there would be 2 readings of the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we can move into any discussion or communications. Is there anything, any questions, comments from the room?
Nope, not seeing any.
It's great meeting some of you all in person for the first time. Thanks for a fun first meeting of roller coaster of an agenda. I appreciate it.
You know what this means? The next one is just going to be like butter.
That's right. That's right. Couldn't agree more, Pete.
Yeah.
And obviously,
have-
we will be having another meeting on January 26th.
Yeah, so on the 26th, we'll be busy.
Great.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Look forward to seeing you guys on the end of the month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon, you just need to adjourn it.
Let's adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned. I have a fake gavel here that
I got it here for you.
Thank